All right, this is Cobra Confessions Part 1. Trying to expand my YouTube page here, get a little more insight and in depth about who I am and what I'm about. And hopefully, in the process, I can help people along the way. All right, so first subject today is going to be how to save your own life. And what I mean about that is I got to give you a story. So here we go. Story time. So I grew up in a situation where, I was raised by an ex-con, fresh out of prison. And that was my stepfather. Now, my actual father was a worthless piece of crap. He died about 2 years ago, to be exact. Just, where do I start? The man smoked 3 packs a day, ate like junk, lived off Hostess. He was obese. And he could hardly function in life. He just chose not to do anything in life, period. He was a prime example. The man slept 12 hours a day at a given. He never worked a job his entire life. I think 3 jobs entirely in his entire life, and they lasted about a month, 2 months. As soon as child support kicked in, he would immediately quit. And back in those days, there were no actions taken. There was no consequences for not paying it. Nobody came looking for you. But the point is, I was raised in an environment. He lived in a house that was dilapidated. There was no back roof. There was a giant hole in the roof where you could look up, and everything imaginable from birds to bats to you name it would fly in and out daily. He lived with a woman who I'll never begin to understand, who worked 60 hours a week in a nursing home just to take care of his ass, and didn't get anything in return for that matter. He treated her like crap. He disrespected her. He just totally used her, abused her physically, mentally. She just wasn't all there. I don't know. She wasn't like she was a bad lady. It was just like she just mentally wasn't there. I don't know what her problem was. She could have done better in any other situation. She could have done better, period, just being alone. But it was her house. It was her grandfather's house. It was already over like almost 100 years old, so it was old to begin with, and it just, there's no upkeep. And so the woman was a cat hoarder. She had over 75 cats. Most of them were wild stray cats who dug holes and tunnels underneath the floor, which there wasn't much for. It was all rotted away, so it was basically just dirt for the most part. So you're looking at cat feces everywhere imaginable. And they're breeding. So you got, just cats everywhere. There's mold everywhere from the feces, the mold growing on the walls, mold all over the floors. The smell was ungodly from the sewer, the backed up sewage they had. Eventually they lost all their water, electricity, and heat. Not all at once, but they lost their water and their heat. And you wonder how this goes undetected. You wonder how they don't, they lived on this little side street. It was like kind of hidden in there, It was surrounded by decent houses, but they had that one house surrounded by a couple of nice houses, but it was on a side street, so it was like undetected. Nobody ever went down that street very often. It was kind of out of the mix of the public eye. So, but, people keeping track of the water coming. You think it would, someone would be aware of this, but they lived that way for almost a couple of years before they couldn't live that way any longer. A couple winters in without any heat and running off a space heater, electricity, that's the only bill they could keep up on, I guess. So, and that was in one room, living in one room. The summers were ungodly because, by then, all that wildlife and all those insects and that stuff that was, hiding out for the winter would just come back full force in the summertime. We're surrounded by thousands and thousands of mice, rats climbing up the walls by the hundreds. Crawling on you, cockroaches by the millions, just dropping eggs left and right, just crawling over everything and everybody. It's just, and all this time, it never bothered him. He was unfazed. He didn't really care enough to do anything about it. He just It didn't faze him. He dropped out alive. And he was always like that since I was a little boy. He had no, concern about it. He had no friends, nothing. I mean, I don't know. I never could understand the guy. His daily activities were wake up, drink coffee, smoke pack cigarettes, head over to Hardee's, which then you get a 60-cent cup of coffee, and then free refills for the whole day. So those people had to put up with him for 4 or 5 hours a day, sometimes twice a day, literally. That's what he did. And if we were with him that weekend, which you got to think about, we usually stayed with him every other weekend, give or take. And then if we did go over there, it was only because we didn't want to be around our abusive, stepfather, who was just mentally and physically abusive to the point where it's ungodly. A lot of anger issues, a lot of hatred for everything. So, you had to weigh out the two of the evils there. So we deal with him. Father really wasn't, physical with us. He just didn't pay any mind to us, really. He was, pretty much depressing and negative in the point, but he was just like, think about it. We'd get over there at his house around noon, and then we tell him we're there, and he wouldn't wake up until like 6 or 7 at night, even knowing that we're waiting on him, and he could care less. So we just sleep and just sit there, and no concern. Oh, I'll get up when I get up. Deal with you guys later. Grow in these conditions and talk about the no water situation. He never bathed. So we're talking about a man who never bathed ever. I can't really go into details fully about this situation. I mean, I'm probably not even explaining the way I should. It's been a long time. I stopped communicating with my father about 18 years after I was 18 years old. After 18 years, I just said I was enough, and just that was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I mean, I've seen a life. So if the point is, you got to do something with your life. Destiny, fate, they only play in a hand with the, people who are actually going to get up and do something. Because if you don't, nobody's going to do it for you. I mean, there's not going to be any magic fucking moment where it's like, boom, someone's going to save your life. I've seen life in general. I've seen it in front of my eyes every day, day in and out, with nothing going on, the same day in repeat, over and over. And he lived that way for his remaining last, probably, even though I was always aware of what was going on, my other brother, he'd always he'd randomly visit, and, he'd tell me nothing's changed. He was a hoarder. His house was packed to the gills. There was nowhere to sit. There was nowhere, to even, you're just boxed in by junk upon junk, because his woman was a hoarder. This is after they moved out of the house into an apartment. They were hoarders at that house, but nothing changed is what I'm trying to say from the moment they left that house to some apartment they rented. But same old situation, same old coffee drinking, and through all those situations, and all the things I seen with all the abuse and neglect and all the just horror, like prime example, they had no running water. So you wonder how they went to the bathroom. Well, the toilet was basically just there. Infested with maggots, just maggot infestation, and they still use that. And then what they did after they went to the bathroom, say number 2, they took a shovel and they would shovel it out, and they would shovel it into a nearby sand pile over here. There was like a construction style warehouse where they like stored lumber and there's a construction company's warehouse, a small warehouse where they, stored, tools and stuff and machines and whatnot. Well, they had this sand pile over there, or whatever they used it for, and my dad would just shovel it out and bury it in the sand pile. The sad part is I caught kids playing in that sand pile one day, and I'm just like, didn't have the nerve, or even, I felt like I didn't know how to explain it. It's like, you guys don't want to go in there, and they'd be like, why? And I was like, well, there's shit in there. But the point is, his woman would sit on that toilet, literally just sit on that toilet, even though there's, maggots, just infested in it, and it didn't bother. These people were unfazed. I don't know what kind of state of mind you got to be in to just want to endure that all the time, but I'm nothing like that. I work every day of my life. I take care of my family. I'm honest. I believe in integrity and respect. I don't have to look, over my back and wonder who I effed over or whatever, or people looking for me, or I'm nothing like that. I'm a loving, caring human being. I don't, I could easily went the other way. I had no examples. There were no examples set for me. I mean, I had to learn everything I had to learn on my own. Everything in life. There was no help from either side of my family. I didn't have, I mean, I was pretty much thrown to the wolves from day one. And that's the point you got to come to. And as a little boy, I had to grow up quick and go realize this is not right. If I'm going to do anything in my life, if I'm going to have any type of life, I got to break away, learn from this, learn by. Some people just are products of their environment. Their just mind can't comprehend, or their mind can't, you know, establish any thought outside of what their life's presenting to them. Like they think that's normal. And people choking to death from smoking 3 packs a day, or people getting, guts that are protruding over their, belt to the point where hanging down their knees. They can't process that's not normal for some reason. They can't process that there's not, that's not healthy. It's not a productive lifestyle. It's not a happy lifestyle. It's people treating their lives like burdens. I had to overcome all that. I mean, there's no physical people in my family. Being a competitive bodybuilder, being a musician, all that stuff I had to teach myself and believe in myself. So people who are in those situations, I'm reaching out to you to say, hey, you can go the other way. You don't have to be a product of your environment. You don't have to. I'm going to get into more detail about this, but that's just, the gist of it, quick and briefly. I'm trying, you don't have to be that way. I've seen the worst of the worst, and just seeing people live like that is just, there's no explanation for it. I mean, you think it's a mental illness, but they knew what they were doing. They're fully aware. They just didn't care. They just dropped out of life. They couldn't find, it's sad, they couldn't find any more meaning or purpose to just better themselves in any way. They were just lazy. I don't know, definitely uneducated. But considering I came from that background and I'm nothing like that, I'm the exact polar opposite. I did things that, it baffled them. Like actually reading and educating myself and expanding my mind and just horizons and just pushing myself. I mean, I had all that stuff to push me. I still use that stuff today to push me, those thoughts, those environments. And I will get into more detail about that environment. You can't really, I probably didn't explain it thorough enough for you to understand, but it's something this is part one, so assembly I'll go over, and then hopefully you get a better understanding. It's hard to, in a short period of time. I'm not trying here to bore you, I'm just trying to help people in a sense who's in those environments, those hard environments where they see no hope, that you can have a better life and do things and go beyond what you thought possible. You are your own person, and you're in control of your life. You have to save your own life. You really do. You have to believe in yourself. You have to just, it takes time and it takes courage, but you can do it. And it takes, when you come from that environment, you got to think, you got nothing to lose. So everything is yours to gain. So, the only real failure is not trying at all. So don't give up. There is hope. And I'll get back to that in another video here, part 2 soon. And I'll try to explain a little more in detail. So thank you. And hopefully, I can, help somebody out. Peace.